Well, first of all, for a little humor, when Tracy was born, he cried morning and night for 3 months. And as long as strong as that, I knew he was going to be a singer or a preacher. So, but growing up, Tracy he was a typical kid, just like, all children are, but it was just a special humbleness in his heart for others, and most of all, his friends. He would do anything that he could to make things better. I can remember one occasion where he took out money to buy a team made sneakers. So it was just always a warm-hearted, giving person. Just that everywhere we went, people would stop and just tell me that he had a calling on him. And my grandmother was the first to tell me that he was going to be a man of God. She said, I'll probably be gone, but he will be a true.
Well, in growing up, in his calling, he always was truthful. I never forget one time that him and some more kids was at the gym playing basketball, and something happened. I forgot what it was, but I know he always was truthful about it. He always would tell the truth, and that told me it was something special about him right there. And as far as me, I know that Tracy was one that always go to Sunday school on Sunday mornings. I didn't have to get behind him, when Sunday morning come, what he had to do. And I always know he was someone special. He always was different, never got in trouble or anything with the other kids in the community. And again, I know that I had a vision one night that he was going to preach, and I recorded in the Bible. He never didn't know it, but years after I showed it to him.
He bossed me around so bad. He bossed me around. He gave me a hard time. He picked on me. Probably 98 of my butt cuttings I got because of him. Because of him telling on me about something. But he was also my biggest protector. He gave me a hard time, but he did not let anybody else mess with me. I remember us growing up as kids. On this particular occasion, I was kind of going through our family Bible, and I saw where my dad had written, he had a vision or a dream that Tracy was preaching the gospel. And I can remember taking the Bible, running to him and taking the Bible and said, look, Daddy said that, he had a vision that you were preaching. And I can remember he didn't say a whole lot. He just kind of looked at it and he didn't have a whole lot to say. But I do think prior to him accepting that he had a call to ministry and to preach, I think he thought he had the call to sing. And I say that because every program that it was at church or anytime it was time for somebody to sing or do anything, and even one time, one of the pastors that was installed asked him to sing on the program, and his favorite song was "If a Robin Can Say Thank You, You Could Do It Too." So Timothy, I think y'all need to request for him to sing that for y'all one Sunday.
By watching him every day and preparing for messages, I would say one of his most memorable messages was, and being under his leadership, I've noticed the consistency. He's taught me how to be consistent in what I'm focusing on. One, to focus, and two, to be consistent in that one particular focus. I remember a message that he preached. It was about new identity. And I realized that entering this role with Pastor Boles, I had to shift into a new identity. And that one identity was to be consistent, focus on one thing, and be consistent with that focus. One of the most memorable quotes from that new identity message was, "You cannot receive an Israel blessing with a Jacob mentality." We all know the story of Jacob. Jacob had to go through the situation with the angel, and Jacob had to wrestle through it. And he, after the wrestle, and he said, the angel said, "Turn me loose." And Jacob simply said, "I'm not going to turn you loose until you bless me." From that encounter, Jacob was then changed. I knew that I needed to change, and Pastor Boles helped me through that. Even though he's my spouse, he was still able to, under his leadership, I experienced a change. And I thank him so much for that, because not only with, him being my spouse, but him being my spiritual leader as well. So Pastor Boles, I thank you for, honey, I thank you. I feel kind of strange calling you pastor, even though you're my husband, but you are my pastor, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for great, consistent leadership.
One of the things Pastor has done is I have to be candid, he's made preaching important. He's made the word very important, and he's released the word. He's released that. I mentioned earlier relationship. He walks in the Joshua anointing, if I could say. And what I mean by that is Pastor's leadership, his commitment to God and to the calling here, or the assignment here at Timothy Baptist, has been to bring us through wilderness trials, wilderness experiences. The Lord has used Pastor Tracy Boles as Joshua to bring us into our present day promise. And my God, we are blessed. So I'm grateful. That's the impact he's made. For me personally, I appreciate who he has been as a covering. I have no problem talking to Pastor about anything, requesting prayer, and actually don't have a problem with him pushing me, pulling me back, correcting if need be. And let me tell you, even as assistant to pastor, he's done all of that. The Lord is good. I'm so grateful for Pastor Boles and his leadership. I'm thankful that as a man of God, he's also a great man of his family. He's also a man that can mentor. And I'm thankful today that he is a man who is dedicated to the Lord, a man who is very caring, a man who is committed and doesn't mind connecting. But for me, I appreciate the fact that he's a man of community. It's one thing to be a pastor of a church, but it means nothing if you can't help pastor the community. And so I'm happy that Pastor Boles is also intentional on connecting with the community.
How we met, Pastor Boles, we was on the trustee committee, and
and it was actually a transition team, which consisted of the trustees, all of the trustees.
And the thing that sticks out in my mind when we first met Pastor Boles is the way he communicated with us. He talked like normal people. He wasn't highfalutin or nothing like that. He just kind of talked, laid it out there.
Very down to earth person. Yeah. It was almost as if we were sitting there, we were interviewing him, but it was like we were actually talking to a family member or just a friend. And he just had this personality that was very warm and inviting.
Yes.
And Pastor Boles, to me, it just appeared that what he talks about being Christ-centered and people-focused.
Yes.
That's exactly what he was, even from the beginning.
Yes. And what really stuck out to me about when we did these interviews, it was 3 individuals, I think, that we had kind of got down to the finals, and they gave us resumes of them.
Right.
And I remember this one person, he sent a little old thing, 1-page resume, and another person sent a little booklet in as a resume. Well, what stuck out about Pastor Boles, he sent this 5-6 inch thick 3-ring binder.
And what that binder was, Bud, if you remember, it was actually talking about the succession plan. Pastor Boles came well prepared.
A plan already.
He was professional.
Yes.
It was just so. It was like a natural thing for him to do.
Yes.
He was a leader from the start.
From the start.
So
from his banking experience and everything, that means we knew that he could come right in and step in and do what needed to be done. Yes, and
so we all were very impressed with
Pastor
Boles.
I'm back and with a new beginning, Full Gospel Baptist Church. Pastor Boles was the youth pastor, and we began to develop a fondness and a good relationship with Pastor Boles by him interacting with our children in the youth ministry. Pastor Boles had a particular zeal about him, and he had a passion for the youth. And he carried that over into his pastoralship here at Timothy. He's always been focused and diligently wanted to work with the youth, and he had a special calling with that. He's always been engaging and being current with the current things that are going on and that are relevant in today's youth. So he brings that perspective to his leadership and his ministry and talking to the youth. And that's one of the things we always remember about Pastor Boles.
The transition from New Beginning to Timothy, we came to Timothy with Pastor Boles and First Lady Boles, and we knew him there at New Beginning, and we watched him over the years with our bishop and how he was committed and dedicated to New Beginning. And so it was very easy to talk to Bishop and ask him to allow his blessings over us to move to Timothy Baptist Church with Pastor Boles. And Bishop James Morton gave us his blessings. And so we were very thankful to Bishop that he blessed us to follow Tracy Boles over here. So this has been a blessing to be here at Timothy Baptist Church under the leadership of Tracy Boles.
I remember one weekend when he came home to visit, he and I, when he would come home for the weekends, he and I would sit up all night long and just talk and catch up. And I remember this particular weekend, he shared with me how he had given his life to Christ. I think this was like his junior or senior year in college. And he just told me how good he felt and how as he walked down the aisle to the altar, he just felt like weights was falling off of him. And I just sat in awe. And from that day until this, he's never veered off of that path. He has stayed on that path that he started out on the day that he decided to live for Christ. And if we fast forward to the day, I can truly say he's my best friend, my confidant, my go-to person. Anytime I call Tracy with anything, I know that I'm going to hang up feeling a lot better than I did before. He may not have all the answers, or he may not have a solution to my problem, but I always hang up knowing that I can get through it. And even though he gave me a hard time in our early years, he bossed me around so bad, today I can proudly say my brother is my pastor. I have joined Timothy as a virtual member, and I am so honored to be able to tell people that my brother is my pastor. So happy anniversary, Tracy. I pray that God blesses you with many more years. I'm so proud that you stayed on the path that God had planned out for you. So I pray God's blessing upon you, Darlene, your children, and I pray that God just bless the both of you, well, all of you, with many, many more years here at Timothy Baptist Church. And I'm going to close on your favorite saying, I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it.
And something else that drew me to him is the fact that he's an outdoorsman.
All right.
He loves to
That's
fish.
True. True.
I've been fishing with him several times and everything. And I remember this one time he was on my boat with me and everything. And when you're on a boat with somebody, you tell stories, they tell stories. And I told Pastor Boles this kind of story. It was kind of a little colorful, if I might say. And I said, if I tell Pastor this story, I wanted to see his reaction.
Okay.
And boy, did I get a reaction. He laughed so loud at this story that I told him I thought he was going to flip the boat off.
But you know what? But the other thing that I enjoyed about Pastor Boles is that he was the youth pastor.
Yeah, and the other
From the very start,
Yeah.
for Full Gospel.
Full Gospel,
And that's
yes.
when we first met him. But for him to really just enjoy the young people. And we know that if you have young people in your church, you're going to have a big crowd
Yes.
of people coming
Yes.
because they love people. But that was the other thing that drew me to him.
Yes.
And he's been the same from day one
day
up to
one.
this point.
Just
Now, he's
real.
just a genuine person. And if he says something, you can pretty much count on
Yeah,
it.
it's just
So,
real. That's what I like about him. I like the stories that he tell when he's in the pulpit that make you, feel the.
and make sure you stay in the car.
Yeah, make we going
Because
somewhere.
we are going somewhere.
I'm gonna picture where you
There
can
you
hit
go.
it. He just got
All
all
of
these
that.
little sayings, and
Right.
and like he tell all these stories about when he was growing up and everything. When he be in the
It's-
middle
he's
of us.
very relatable.
Yes,
He's relatable
yes.
and everything.
So that's what I really like about Pastor Boles.
He looks at not just being a servant, but to be a person of character and being a person of integrity. And those are some of the main characteristics that he has and that he builds upon with this church. Pastor Boles is not just my pastor, but he's a friend. And he's someone that I can count on. He's someone that this church can count on. And he's someone that truly looks to be a man of God and as a man of God. And he wants to serve God in any manner and any way he can with being with this church. And one of the things we want to do is just say, Pastor, we want to commend you and just tell you happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
You've truly been a blessing to all of us.
Yes. Amen.